All right, guys. So the 2025 NFL Draft is officially 1 week away from the time I'm recording this video, of course. And man, this is such a weird draft because this is the first draft that I can remember in a long time where outside the first overall pick, it is just completely unpredictable. I mean, they literally can go anywhere. This draft, we have no idea what's going to happen. And that is kind of the reason. The reason why is kind of because there's not really that much high-end talent. The blue chip players that are in this draft are guys like Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Ashton Genty, Tyler Warren, and Travis Hunter, of course. But outside of that, it's a really, I don't know, it's a really bland draft. There's some decent talent and there's deep talent in this draft, but none of them are blue chip prospects like the five guys I named before. So since the draft is 1 week away, I am going to be doing my first round mock draft for every team. And this is also the first draft that I believe in the common era, the Super Bowl era that is, that every team currently at least holds their first round pick. So there are no teams in the first round that have multiple first round picks. Now, of course, that could change. In a week from now, it could change on draft night. I know the Bears have been rumored to pick, from pick 39 and trade up into the first round, so that could be a possibility as well. But we'll see, man. But I'm out of the screen. I've got the teams, the depth charts for each team. So I'm going to be going through and picking who I think each team is going to go with. Now, this is going to go based off of, reports, team needs, and a few other factors and what I think that specific team will go and which direction they'll go. I won't do any trades just because it's a little too unpredictable. So every team is going to pick with their pick and where they're picking at. No team is going to be trading back or trading up in this mock draft. So obviously that pretty much is not going to happen. I think every single draft in the first round, somebody's trading up, somebody's trading back. So we'll see how that goes from there. But starting off with the first overall pick, actually got to press start here. Starting off with the first overall pick, this is the only obvious choice here, and it's going to be Cam Ward. Obviously, they don't believe in Will Levis, and they've made that pretty much clear. Cam Ward has gone on live streams and has talked about the Titans extensively. So, and I think FanDuel has them at like a negative 2,000 or minus 2,000 odds, or 20,000, should I say. So it's a pretty much given. And that's about it. That's about it for the first round in terms of knowing for sure what's going to happen. The rest of this draft is a crapshoot. Starting off with the Cleveland Browns here. Obviously, they're a team that has a lot of holes, specifically and mainly at quarterback because, Deshaun Watson has been a terrible, terrible quarterback ever since they traded for him. And even though they got back Joe Flacco and he kind of went on that 2023 run, he's still older. I don't think he's going to have that same juice he had in 2023. And even if he does, it's probably only for a limited time. I don't think it's going to be a season-long, Linsanity streak he's going to go on. So they have been linked to three guys, and those three guys have been Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter. And from what I'm hearing so far is I think at first they started off with Shedeur Sanders. Then they went ahead and said Abdul Carter would be the pick. And then Travis Hunter would be the pick. I'm thinking that because of recent reports going towards Travis Hunter, I think Travis Hunter will be the pick for the Cleveland Browns. I think it helps them to have their holes filled at cornerback and wide receiver, because if you look at wide receiver, they only have Jerry Jeudy as their wide receiver one. Now, obviously, they have Denzel Ward, but Denzel Ward also needs help, so I can see them going Travis Hunter to kind of give them that cornerback help as well. It kind of helped their defense as well. And then now you've got the New York Giants here, who, honestly, this is going to depend. The Giants, I think, are linked to Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. And they have been linked to Shedeur Sanders as well. But after they signed Russell Wilson, that seems a lot less likely that they're going to go Shedeur Sanders. So for them, it's going to be between Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. Whichever ends up going to the Browns is the guy that will end up going to the Giants. So for the Giants, Abdul Carter is going to be the move. They're going to get their edge rusher. I know they still have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, but I think they're going to want to get after the quarterback, especially in their division, man. They got to deal with Dak Prescott. They got to deal with Jalen Hurts and now Jaden Daniels. So you got top quarterbacks on every single one of your division rivals with good offensive lines. So you need guys that can get out to go to quarterback. If you want any hope of winning any of your division games this year, Abdul Carter will be the pick with that one. Now the Patriots, I know they're praying for one of these guys to fall. Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter would be massive upgrades for their team. I don't think that's likely that either's going to end up in New England, but if it does, they will pick one of those two guys, most notably Abdul Carter. But in this situation, I think here they're going to go Will Campbell. They've kind of gone back and forth with, Armand Membu. Maybe if they trade up to, the Giants pick to get Abdul Carter, they could do that. But I don't see them wanting to give up more draft capital because they have so many holes on their team. And especially their offensive line is terrible. I mean, Drake May can have a ton of weapons, but he has no time to throw. And he doesn't have a run game. It's not going to go well for him. So I think you want to give New England the best offensive line, give Drake May that offensive line so you can be able to throw to somebody, because now that you got Stephon Diggs, it's not like you have nobody there. Obviously, your receiver room still needs help, but you got to give the man some time. So Jacksonville here, outside of the number one overall pick, this is the only pick that I feel is pretty much for sure. And even then, this is still kind of a crapshoot, but I'm taking Mason Graham here. Jacksonville is pretty much the only team in the top 10, I would say, that really hasn't been linked to anybody other than Mason Graham. Like, seriously linked to anybody other than Mason Graham. So I really think that's the pick there. You got yourself a defensive line now with Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen, and Mason Graham. And obviously you got a quarterback like CJ Stroud. You're going to have Cam Ward as your division rival in there. You have Anthony Richardson, who's a young quarterback, an athletic quarterback at that too. So you obviously need another good defensive lineman and sort of, help your defensive line to, compete with these quarterbacks. You have Trevor Lawrence, help him out a little bit, but I think they can do that with later picks as well. The Raiders. Honestly, if it wasn't for the recent reports, I would have gone Ashton Jeanty. And now this also is wishful thinking for me as a Bears fan, but I am going off of recent reports, sort of what I did with the Browns with Travis Hunter. Recent reports have said that the Raiders are really high on Armand Membu. And because of that, and the fact that, they don't really have a lot at offensive line, and it wouldn't really make sense for them to draft a running back with this number 6 pick. I think they're going to go Armand Membu here. And I'll get into them a little bit right now, actually. The reason why I don't think they're going to go Ashton Jeanty, and it's for a few reasons. One, they have a lot of holes on this team. Picking a running back at 6 is just not the move. I'm sorry. You only pick a running back that high if you are at least have a good offensive line. And if you don't, then honestly, you're probably not going to do too well. So I doubt that Ashton Jeanty is a pick here. Build the offensive line for Geno Smith. He's not going to last too much longer in the league. I know there's running backs that you could, select like Ashton Jeanty, but you could also do that in the second round. It's a deep running back class, so, you still have Raheem Mostert, Sincere McCormick, and Zamir White. Obviously, none of them are really good running backs, especially Raheem Mostert, not anymore. But honestly, what they should do probably is trade back, if I'm going to be honest with you. They probably should trade back, but we're not doing that in this draft. I'm taking Armand Membu, arguably the best tackle in this draft, pure tackle, the best right tackle in this draft, and, filling the spot that they have for DJ Glaze, and I don't think he's that good of a right tackle. Protect Geno Smith, man. New York Jets. This could be an interesting one because they have been linked to Shedeur Sanders, and you could, but you also pay Justin Fields $40 million for 2 years. I don't think you go Shedeur Sanders because he's just not that good of a quarterback in my opinion. And I don't think a lot of GMs really view Shedeur Sanders that well, especially top 10 worthy. I'm hearing reports he's not even like first round worthy, which I wouldn't blame them, honestly. I'm not high on Shedeur Sanders at all. And if you're the Jets, man, you look at your team right now with Justin Fields. You got Justin Fields, great. You got Breece Hall, and you have Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall disappointed last year. Garrett Wilson is pretty much the only surefire weapon you have on this team. I think you want to go ahead and get another weapon for him. And if Armand Membu falls to the Jets, maybe they take him. But in this case, where the top 2 offensive linemen are gone, I think you take Tyler Warren and you fill your team with more blue chip prospects. And having a guy like Tyler Warren on your team being a security blanket, we already saw what Justin Fields did in Chicago when he had Cole Kmet. They had a really good relationship. So I think he can rebuild sort of that tight end relationship with Tyler Warren and possibly do way better than Cole Kmet is in Chicago. Then you've got Carolina here. And Carolina, I think it's going to be pretty obvious that they go defense here. And the reason I say that, one, is because their defense is absolutely terrible. But two, if they're picking here, I don't think any of the offensive weapons make sense here. I mean, you look at running back, obviously they have Chuba Hubbard, who had a great season last year. They're not going to spend that top pick for Ashton Jeanty. Wide receivers, they could. I could see it happening. But I think they would most likely benefit from trading back. And even if they don't get the top wide receiver in Tedoroa McMillan, I think they'd be fine with either Matthew Golden or Amika or Luther Burden. I really think they'd be fine with one of those guys. And for them, I think they would rather trade back for a receiver than select one at 8. And obviously, in order to trade back, you need someone to trade up, and that might not happen. So for the Panthers, I really think it's going to be edge. Obviously, Mason Graham is gone, and he's pretty much the only like surefire top 10 pick worthy of that D tackle spot. So I don't think it's going to be Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon or Walter Nolan. They could go a few directions here. You got Jalen Walker, you got Shamar Stewart, you got Mike Green and James Pierce Jr. Honestly, if I were them, I would pick James Pierce Jr. I think I've seen them linked to them, but I think the reports show now, and I think Jalen Walker's kind of picking up steam as an edge rusher and kind of has that Micah Parsons type build to him. I think they're going to go Jalen Walker. They're going to bet on the upside with him, with his incredible bend and speed and some decent power as well. And they're going to have to, hope that he kind of turns out like their own version of Micah Parsons. So we'll see what happens with that. And now you've got the Saints here. And if I go to the New Orleans Saints over here, obviously they have Derek Carr, who may not even play this season due to his shoulder injury. I don't think they believe in Spencer Rattler as their top quarterback. But they have a bunch of other holes in the team. Obviously, at edge, they've got Cameron Jordan, who's as old as hell. I don't think, he's the future, obviously, for this team. And they pretty much have nothing else after that. So I think for them, I was originally going to go quarterback, but I don't think I've heard too much of Shedeur Sanders going at 8. If anything, I've heard Jackson Dart probably going at 9. But I think here, they're going to sort of go the approach that the Carolina Panthers are going. They're going to go edge as well. And I think it's going to be Shamar Stewart here. They're going to bet on upside, even though he has very low production in college. I don't really like him as a prospect, but I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to bet on upside here. Same thing with Jalen Walker. They're going to bet on the physical traits, which, I don't know, I don't think teams should do. But hey, I mean, the New Orleans Saints are not exactly they don't exactly have the best front office, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the pick. Then you've got the Chicago Bears here picking at 10, and this is the scenario that I'm pretty sure a lot of Bears fans are hoping, including myself, man. Take Ashton Jeanty. This team needs blue chip prospects. We have Caleb Williams and DJ Moore as hopefully blue chip prospects. You got maybe DJ Moore. Even he's like a borderline top 10 receiver. Cole Kmet's obviously not a blue chip talent. DeAndre Swift is definitely not a blue chip talent. The only true blue chip player you have on your team on either side of the ball really is Joe Thuney and Jalen Johnson. Those are pretty much like the only two. Maybe Drew Dahlman, if you want to throw him in as a top 5 center in this league. We don't know yet, but I don't think, taking a wide receiver, I don't think taking an offensive tackle or defensive lineman is the move at 10. You got Ashton Jeanty there, a true game changer. You need the run game to work under Ben Johnson's scheme. You saw what he did in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs when they drafted him at 12. Take Ashton Jeanty, go to the moon with him. You've got a rebuilt offensive line. Your interior's built up, and Ashton Jeanty can be that running back that takes your offense to the next level and help Caleb Williams, who didn't show himself to be a generational quarterback in his first year, but showed flashes of being, the guy that the Bears hope for. So I think Ashton Jeanty is the move for them. Now for the San Francisco 49ers, this is another team that really hasn't gotten much media attention, really. And I don't know. There's a weird thing about this team. But they just lost pretty much everybody in the offseason, so they could really go any direction. They could go wide receiver if they don't believe in Brandon Ayuk coming back from his injury. They traded away Deebo Samuels maybe to sort of indicate that they will go receiver. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Tedoroa McMillan. Obviously, tight end's pretty much gone here. I don't think they move off of George Kittle. I think the only thing I'd say the best thing you could do. I don't even, man. I was gonna go tackle here, but and just have him kind of sit behind Trent Williams. But man, this is such a weird draft pick. I'm kind of stuck here. I'm kind of stuck here, guys. The only thing that I could think of, and the only thing that I could see that would make sense, because you want a day one starter picking at number 11. I think Will Johnson makes the most sense here. You don't have any corners. I mean, if I look at the roster list here, you've got Renardo Green, you've got Diomore. I don't even know how to say that name. Trey Brown. I mean, these are terrible prospects. Terrible players at corner. I don't really know who they have. It's kind of like the Raiders. Like, they don't really have anybody there. It's got to be Will Johnson at this point, man. Take the best pure corner in this draft, and maybe your defense gets fixed a little. I can also see them going offensive tackle here, but I don't think that's going to happen. But moving on to the Dallas Cowboys, if I can pull it up over here. The Dallas Cowboys, they could use and they could benefit from another wide receiver. They could go edge and sort of fill that spot in that DeMarcus Lawrence left. I think DeMarcus Lawrence. And if you look at the edges here, you've got Mike Green, you've got Michael Williams, James Pierce Jr. I think if Jalen Walker falls to them, I think that could be very interesting. I mean, you've got a prospect that was literally just like Micah Parsons coming out of college and then put him on that same team. Oh my goodness. I mean, if Jalen Walker turns out anything like Micah Parsons and then already having Micah Parsons on the team, one of two things could either happen. Either one, they extend Micah Parsons and holy crap, watch out for anybody that's facing the Cowboys, and that's unfortunately us this year. Or two, he ends up being Micah Parsons' replacement and they end up trading him away or whatever, which I wouldn't be surprised that Jerry Jones does that. Honestly, I'm yapping too much here. I think the easy move here, I think they're going to go Tetairoa McMillan. I think they want to give Dak Prescott sort of that other X factor, and I think CeeDee Lamb needs help. They could go running back here, but if Ashton Genty's not there, I think it's a little too rich to pick Omarion Hampton at 12. I don't think Hampton's that good, but they really could, I guess. But I don't know. It's a passing offense anyway. I don't think they're going to run the ball too much. Now, the Miami Dolphins are another team that hasn't really been talked about too much. And, you've got Tua in there. You don't know if he's the future of your franchise. Maybe they go ahead and, take quarterback. I don't see it, to be honest. Maybe you can go, a few linemen here. You can go defensive linemen. Really, they can go any direction here. A lot of their players are either just kind of washed or just not that good. The only players that are pretty good are Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane. Jonnu Smith, too, is also a really good player. Alec Ingold, I guess, is a good fullback, even though there are not many left in the NFL nowadays. So if you want to protect your guy, knowing that Terrion Armstead just retired, I think this is the point you go left tackle, and I think you take Kelvin Banks here and protect Tua because, my God, he keeps getting hurt. Protect the man from hitting his head on the ground another time. Now you've got the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson is sort of on his last legs here because he's had a terrible first 2 years. Obviously dealt with injury, but even when he was healthy, he's showed some flashes with his cannon of an arm and his, amazing rushing ability. But aside from that, he's just not a great passer, and he's very, very inaccurate. So I don't know how much faith they have in the guy, but of course they're going to give him this year to figure it out because they did pick him 4th overall in 2023. So it's not like this year they're going to move on, especially in a class that has terrible quarterbacks, to be honest. But if you really want to go a certain route here with the Colts, honestly, I would not be surprised if, for whatever reason, Tyler Warren falls here. They will take him, I think, in a heartbeat. I think here they could also go Colston Loveland. I think they can kind of give Anthony Richardson sort of that underneath guy and kind of scheme around Colston, who's a pretty good tight end prospect. Not as good as Tyler Warren, but he's pretty decent. And, you could have him sort of as your underneath guy and sort of help out Anthony Richardson, who's been struggling, and see what happens, honestly. And if he doesn't work out, then you pick another quarterback next year and you have a great tight end. Atlanta Falcons. I see a lot of Falcons fans. If any Falcons fans are watching this, man, I know you guys want this to happen. Mike Green, 17 and a half sacks last season, man. He is amazing. I know he has those allegations with, I believe, like sexual assault allegations. He's got like 2 of them. From what we're hearing so far, the charges might not stick and the stories are sounding a little weird. So I don't think there's really much to worry about on that. And by the way, this is one of my favorite edge prospects that the Bears want to grab. I wouldn't be too mad at that. But I think Atlanta does definitely like what's his face? Mike Green. And they're gonna be so happy with him. I think he's gonna be a very good edge rusher in this league. And yeah, they roll with that at pick 15. I think it's a steal for them, to be honest. Now you're looking at the Arizona Cardinals here. And the Cardinals, who have Marvin Harrison Jr., they drafted last year with the 4th overall pick. Didn't do so well. I think he only had like 800 yards receiving, if I'm not mistaken. James Conner, obviously, they have him at running back, who's solid, but he is getting older. You've got Trey McBride, who just made the highest paid tight end in the league. You picked Paris Johnson back in 2023. Stole him away from my Chicago Bears, but it's all good. We got Darnell Wright. You got Evan Brown in there. You got Royce Newman, Jonah Williams, and Hijalti Froholt at center, I guess. You got Josh Swell you picked up in free agency this past year. Brought back Calais Campbell that you drafted way back when. And Sean Murphy-Bunty at corner. They actually had a decent draft. I'm not going to lie. I think they could benefit, though, from having another weapon. And if you look at the wide receivers, you could go Matthew Golden or Mika, but I think just because they spent the 4th overall pick last year on Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't think they go that direction. I think here is probably where they might go corner. I wouldn't be too surprised if they did. And if you take a corner here, I think Jahdae Brown would be a very good corner for the Arizona Cardinals, and I wouldn't mind it for them. The Bengals. Man, if the Bengals are listening, man, your first 3 picks in this draft better be defense. Do not touch offense. I don't care if it's offensive line. I don't care what it is. I don't care who falls. I don't care if it's Ashton Jeanty that falls. I don't care if it's Tyler Warren that falls. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Will Campbell that falls to pick 17. You are picking defense. All right? There's only one side of the ball that you need to address this upcoming season so that Joe Burrow doesn't have to throw 60 touchdowns and 7,000 yards in order to win you 8 games. Because that's what's going to happen. If you guys don't do anything with your defense, it's not going to matter. Joe Burrow is going to be the most insane fantasy quarterback, and Jamar Chase is going to be the best wide receiver in fantasy, and he's going to break every single record known to man, and they're going to end up with 6 wins no matter what, just because their defense can't hold a team to less than 60 points. So, hey, you got T. Higgins, you got Jamar Chase paid. Go for defense now, guys. I don't care what you do. Literally, they can go to edge, they can go to D-line and just throw it at a dartboard blindly, and whoever they land on, they get. That would be great for them. Honestly, they should be re-signing Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with that. I think for them, I think the perfect move for them, just in case this doesn't work out, I think you should go Michael Williams here. Now, I'm not super high on Michael Williams, but he does have length, and I think learning from Trey Hendrickson, he could be a solid pass rusher. He's really good against the run, so anybody running towards his direction, he could be good. It's a defensive player. You can't go wrong here. Take defense. The end of story. End of story. Now you've got the Seattle Seahawks here picking next, and the Seattle Seahawks last year picked up, who was it? I forgot who they picked last. Brian Murphy, yes. Brian Murphy, and the year before they picked Jackson Smith and Jigba. They traded away DK Metcalf for a 2nd-round pick. They picked up Cooper Kupp. So, honestly, that's a really good trade-off, to be honest. I just thought about that right now. I mean, Cooper Kupp is not that much worse than DK, to be honest. I like that for them. Either way, and they got Sam Darnold, too, in free agency. Not sure how much they're bought in on him. But for this team, they got Charles Cross. They got Abraham Lucas. So, I wouldn't say they pick left tackle here. I think for them, they're going to probably go defense here. But there could be a wild card in this one. And the wild card being quarterback. Shedeur Sanders is falling. And I think this is actually what's going to happen. I think Shedeur Sanders falls. I don't think it's to the Seattle Seahawks. We'll get into Shedeur Sanders. But I think Shedeur Sanders could very well get the Will Levis treatment that Will Levis himself got. And I think you could go Jackson Dart right here. So, yeah, they go Jackson Dart, and that would be insane. But I can see it happening, man. I can most definitely see it happening. Let me see something real quick. Okay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock as well. Going over to Tampa Bay. Got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, you've got Bucky Irvin, stud running back, Baker Mayfield having a revenge tour going crazy. Solid defense, but I think you got to go defensive line here. You got to go defensive line, you got to go corner. Your corners are kind of gone. They've kind of all left already. You got Jamel Dean. I think they still go corner. I'm surprised they have Trey Amos ranked 39, but I think he goes here. Trey Amos is a very good corner. I don't know why he's going in, like, they're predicting him in the second round. He's a first-round guy. I can pretty much book that right there. He's going to be a first-round guy. He's a really good corner. I don't think you think much of that. I think Denver here, obviously, they're not going to get Ashton Jeanty, but they want a running back. If not, they probably want a tight end, but you've had Colston Loveland gone. So now you go here, and you could go defense, but they have a solid defense. They need more weapons for Bo Nix if they want to compete in the AFC. And I think Omarion Hampton is that guy for them. Not the highest on Omarion Hampton, but I do think he does go in the first round. And going to Denver would be very solid for them and kind of give them that run game to help out Bo Nix. It would be amazing for them. Now, this is the scenario that I'm pretty sure the Steelers are desperately hoping for. And it very well could happen. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not high on Shedeur Sanders at all, and I really feel that a lot of NFL teams are not either. I don't think anybody is trading up for him. I don't think anyone is picking him with a top 10 pick. So I think he goes here. Shedeur Sanders to the Steelers, go to a historic franchise, go to Mike Tomlin. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be that good. That's another story, but they need a quarterback. So it's just simple as that, guys. Like, come on. It's just simple as that. Now you go to the Los Angeles Chargers here, who just got Najee Harris at running back. Obviously, they don't have Gus Edwards anymore. They don't have J.K. Dobbins. So you could go a number of directions here. I would say that their offensive line is solid enough. I think they got Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, and they're fine with that. So you don't go tackle here. You're not going to go guard. Their defense, they could go defensive line here. Or they could go Trayvon Henderson. I think because of the fact that Khalil Mack is really old and they're not going to have much past that, I think you do go James Pierce Jr. here. Take him away from the Green Bay Packers because I think that's who they would pick. But James Pierce Jr. to the Chargers would be amazing for them. Shore up a defensive line. Let Khalil Mack train this guy and sort of teach him to be a good edge rusher. But I think James Pierce Jr. is probably the second best. He's my second favorite edge rusher in this draft, but I think he ends up falling a little farther. I hope he falls to the second round. I know people are saying that he could fall that far. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he makes it past pick 25, but we'll see. You never know. Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers never select a wide receiver, ever, ever, ever. And I think this time they're finally going to, and that player is actually going to be Luther Burden. I don't know why people are talking themselves into Matthew Golden as a wide receiver 2 in this class. It's Luther Burden and Tetairoa McMillan. I don't understand why people are trying to say Amika's better or Golden's better. Sure, Matthew Golden has the speed or whatever, but come on, Burden is just too good. I think they're going to go Luther Burden here, and they're going to be with a pretty decent wide receiver room to help out Jordan Love because they need a wide receiver 1. Now you've got the Minnesota Vikings, who obviously have their quarterback in J.J. McCarthy coming off that injury last year. They've got Aaron Jones at running back. They picked up Jordan Mason from the 49ers. Obviously, they have one of the best wide receiver trios in Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Jalen Naylor with T.J. Hawkinson there. An upgraded offensive line with Christian Darrisaw obviously as their leader, who I think he'll be back in time for the season. Defensive line, though, and this is kind of where one of the more obvious picks to me personally. I think they're going to have to go defensive line. And unfortunately, they're going to take my second favorite defensive line prospect or a defensive tackle prospect in Kenneth Grant. And it's going to be an excellent move for them. And it's going to scare me as a Bears fan because I'm going to have to hope that our offensive line, specifically our interior, can hold up against this absolute athletic behemoth. Go watch some Kenneth Grant highlights on YouTube if you don't believe me. That man should not be moving for as big as he is. It is insane. Going on to Houston right now. Houston, just like how I was talking about the Cincinnati Bengals should only be taking defense, the Houston Texans, you've got no choice. You're taking offensive line. You're taking offensive line. You're taking whatever best offensive line is. If you want to go Tyler Booker, that's fine. If you want to go Gray Zabel, that's fine. If you want to take Josh Connerly because you want to bet on upside, that's fine. I take Josh Simmons here. You lost your guy in Laremy Tunsil. I don't know why you guys would trade him in general. I know he had a down year last year, but he is not there. You could do so much worse than Laremy Tunsil. I would want Laremy Tunsil on the Bears right now over Braxton Jones. Why the hell would you do that after being the second worst offensive line last year? I don't get it. Literally what they did last year is the equivalent to the Bears saying, we gave up 68 sacks last year. Let's trade away Darnell Wright. That's literally what they did. Why would you trade away your best offensive lineman after having one of the worst seasons for a Texans quarterback in terms of getting sacked and pressure rate? I don't know why. But moving on to the Rams, the Los Angeles Rams, that is. Obviously, you have an older quarterback, but I don't think they move on from anytime soon. You've got your star running back in Kyren Williams. You've got Puka Nacua, your star wide receiver. Devontae Adams, you got him in I believe in free agency or trade. I forgot. Oh, no, they released him, I think, and then they picked him up. They re-signed Tutu Atwell. Tyler Higbee's a pretty solid tight end. Colby Parkinson's also a decent tight end number 2. So here they could go a number of directions. I think they want to shore up that defense, and I think they're trying to fill up their defense with young talent. I think Sean McVay is trying to go defensive first after especially losing a guy like Aaron Donald. It's very hard to replace that kind of player, so I don't think he's going to look for an Aaron Donald. They've got Kobe Turner. They got Braden Fisk. They got Jared Versa. They got a really solid defensive line. I think the only thing that they're missing right now is a stud linebacker, and I think this is where Jihad Campbell goes. And if Jihad Campbell lives up to his expectations, oh man, he is going to be a really good player. And they're going to be a very good team. So watch out for the Los Angeles Rams, man. They're a sneaky good team to honestly make the Super Bowl. Keep in mind, they were really close to beating the Super Bowl champions, the Eagles. So if they add a couple more pieces, man, they could very easily win another. Honestly, I could see it happening. Going on to the Baltimore Ravens here. Sort of the same thing. Like the, whatchamacallit? What am I thinking of? Who I just picked? The Vikings. Jesus Christ, I couldn't think. I think they would go defensive line here, and I think they would go D-tackle. They could go edge, and I wouldn't be surprised at that, but I think they go defensive tackle here. And I think they go with Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan seems like a great fit for the Baltimore Ravens. They could go Derek Carman too, but I think Derek Carman's going to fall to the second round, to be honest. I think for them, that's what's going to happen. There's not really much to say. They go defense. Not really much on offense. They're not going to go receiver because you're a run team and it's just the Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson show over there. They have great tight ends, so obviously they're not going to go tight end. Doesn't make sense for them to go receiver at all. Offensive line is really good. They're fine with that. Detroit Lions, I think it's obviously going to be defensive line. Now, they've got a defensive tackle already there. He was injured last year, but they need someone on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson for help. They absolutely do. And I know Donovan E is here. I can't say that last name. But I am a really big fan of Nick Scorton. I really hope he falls to the Bears in the second round because that would be an amazing pickup. Unfortunately, though, I think he's going to be a Detroit Lion. He's going to be a Detroit Lion or a Washington Commander. I think that's one of the two things that's going to happen here. He's going to be one of those two guys, and he's not going to make it past pick 28 or pick 29. Going on to the Washington Commanders, and sort of how the Browns could pick, the Giants could pick either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and they're going to pick whoever falls to them. I think it's going to be the same thing for Washington. I think they're going to pick between Scorton, and they're going to get Donovan Ezer. Why do you say that name? Izairukiel? I can't. They could go Derek Carman, but I think they got guys there. Let me actually look at that real quick. Let me try to stop going off the top of my head here. They got Javon Kinlaw. They got Daron Payne. I highly doubt they go defensive tackle. They need help at edge. Their edge right now is Cleveland Farrell, who was a first-round draft bust, Dorrance Armstrong, Jacob Martin, former Bear, Dietrich Wise. I mean, Yeah, this has to be edge here. Give me Donovan. Give me the best player on the board for edge. Going on to Buffalo. Buffalo is they need defense as well. They need defense, and they have Ed Oliver there, but they have, what do they have? They have Greg Russo. They have Joey Bosa. I mean, Joey Bosa is not really a guy you'd want to go with here. So I could see them honestly going safety, and I think a lot of teams this year are going to bet, because there's not so much talent in this year's draft. I think a lot of teams are going to bet more on athletic upside if the gap between two players isn't that great. So I think for the safety position, the gap between Malachi Starks and Nick Emenwari is not super huge. However, what is super huge, no Diddy, what is super huge is the athletic gap between Malachi Starks and Nick Emenwari, because Nick Emenwari is an athletic beast, probably the most athletic safety I can remember coming out of college. So this is going to be the pick here for them. It's going to be an amazing pick for them. And he can sort of play like that coverage linebacker or that run stopping safety sort of hybrid duo, and he's going to be a very good player in this league, I think. Going on to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs need offensive line. Especially after losing Joe Thuney to us. Thank you. I think he's going to be one of two things. I'm hearing Gray's able to play center. He played tackle, so I don't think he's going to play center, especially if he goes to the Chiefs. I think he plays guard, and he's going to sort of fill in that role that was kind of left behind on with Joe Thuney being traded away. So I think Gray's able goes there. And now for your Super Bowl champions, picking at the spot right here, I think, you could go a number of directions. Let me actually look at their team real quick, because, their team is loaded. Their team is very, very much loaded. Where's the Philadelphia Eagles? I can't find them. Okay, right here. Obviously, we know their offensive line is great. They traded for Kenyon Green, so I don't think they go guard. They probably could. They could take, Tyler Booker or Donovan Jackson or, one of those guys to slide him in at right guard. They probably don't do that. What they did lose is a lot of talent at edge. Now, at this point, if the draft goes like this, I don't think they're going to want to go edge, because it'd be kind of a reach. I'm not going to lie. You could trade back out of here at this point, but if it's looking like this, honestly, it would be very tough. I would hate to be in this position if I need the defensive line, but the thing is, they don't really need it. They don't absolutely need defensive line. You've got, obviously, Cooper DeJean kind of playing safety, so I don't think they go safety here. I know he's kind of like the nickel corner as well, but they have Reed Blankenship, who's been a solid player for them. They could honestly go a number of directions here. I'm going to be honest with you. Despite everything I said about Kenyon Green, I still think that they're going to go with the best lineman available and sort of just help Saquon Barkley. Just ride the wave that they were riding last year. Take Tyler Booker. Take probably the best pure guard in this draft and call it a day. So that's the draft for y'all. I think this sort of looks like what is going to happen this year in the NFL draft. Obviously, it's going to look a whole lot different with trades and stuff. So we got Cam Ward at number 1, Travis Hunter number 2, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Armand Membu can kind of be the wild card here. Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, Shamar Stewart, Ashton Jeanty, who I really, really hope happens for the Bears, Will Johnson, Tedero McMillan, Calvin Banks, Colston Loveland, Mike Green, Jahdae Barron, Michael Williams, Jackson Dart, which I'm not too sure on this one, but it could happen if they don't trust in Sam Darnold too much. Trey Amos and they need corner. Marion Hampton, who could go a lot higher to the Cowboys, but I don't think he goes super high. Shador Sanders would be the best case scenario for them since they don't have to actually trade up for either Jackson Dart or Shador Sanders. James Pierce Jr., my second favorite edge in this class. Luther Burden, so they finally pick a receiver in the first round and help out Jordan Love in ways they didn't help out Aaron Rodgers when he was with them. Kenneth Grant, my second favorite defensive tackle, would be a very good selection for the Vikings. Josh Simmons to sort of, help out with that offensive line loss. Jahan Campbell sort of help out with that, their young defense that they have. Walter Nolan for the Baltimore Ravens. Nick Scorton to help out Aiden Hutchinson. Donovan Ezi Iruaku What kind of last name is that? I'm just gonna call you Donovan, bro. I don't care, bro. Donovan E. That's your name from now on, man. Until I hear someone say your last name right. He's gonna help on the defensive line. Nick Minori, help out that defense that was terrible last year. Gray Zabel to fill that void left by Joe Thuney, and Tyler Booker to fill that void left by Mekhi Becton that they have currently. Kenyon Green, I don't think they start him in the rest of the season. But that's how I think the first round is kind of going to go. Obviously, as a Bears fan, this is the pick I'm really hoping happens, if I can highlight it. Ashton Jeanty to the Bears, that would be amazing for us, and especially if we don't have to trade up for him. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think this first round is a bit accurate? Let me know if you agree or disagree. Bear down and I'm out.